Welcome to ILEA, Integral Leadership in Action. This is the Writer Support Pod, and we're going to hear from William, who's been exploring the depths of AI psychology, or maybe it's our psychology. Let's hand it over to William to tell everything.
Well, thank you, Beth, for inviting me to talk about my experience using AI and how, sort of by accident, I was doing some dream analysis on my own dreams, which I've had a dream journal for like a very long time, like 3 decades, and I decided to just for the fun of it to put a summary of my book, The Six Dimensions of Purpose, and into the Dream Analyzer. And I told my AI bot, I said, treat this book summary as if it were a dream. And what it did was push out this very insightful analysis of the book from a psychological perspective. And it was using a kind of a combination of a little bit of Freud, a little bit of Jung, and some other stuff. And it was so interesting that I decided to actually create a couple dedicated projects in my AI, specifically around, well, initially just dream interpretation, but then I expanded it to any kind of psychological interpretation of any text. So what I want to do is to maybe show you what I created, and we can talk about it.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what. Why don't we just go immediately into a share screen here? So there we go. So this is my website, Greater Meaning, and this is the book I wrote. It's called The Six Dimensions of Purpose. You can see that okay?
Yes.
And this is the book. I wrote it 3 years ago, along with my colleague Charlie James. And it's basically about purpose in life, and it's created from an integral framework, uses a lot of integral thinking within it. And I'm currently working on another book on integral purpose, and that's my current thing that I'm doing. So this is what I did. So this is Claude. Let me get to the top here. And if you're familiar with AI, but what I did was create something I called a dream analyzer. And this is a project. And what I can do is to put in any of my dreams, which I've been doing because I have a dream journal that goes way back. But what I also did was put in my book summary as a dream. And this is what it spat out. So the book is Dream, a depth analysis of the six dimensions of purpose. So this is actually a very long analysis of the book. And you'll see, you know, Freudian, humanistic, phenomenological, integral, you know, and just central archetypes, what's being worked on, the developmental moment, what the dream is asking, the meta narrative, and some deeper philosophical reflections. Anyway, the result of this is that I get a wealth of insight into the nature of what I'm saying, the whole narrative of my story, from a psychological perspective, from all these different perspectives, and just for you'll like this. Just to give you an example, it says here the book sits explicitly within the Wilberian framework. But what is worth noting is where the book itself is located in the very developmental hierarchy it describes. A book that can hold all 6 dimensions simultaneously, that integrates philosophical lineage from Socrates through Nietzsche through Wilber, that explicitly maps its own intellectual depths and limitations. This is a book produced from teal consciousness.
Woohoo!
But I want to be
Second tier.
turquoise. So anyway, that alone, you just get,
Yeah.
okay, so, this is where I'm coming from. And if I'm a writer that is, immersed in integral theory, I want to know where I'm coming from. And, from the AI actually, nails me as, teal consciousness, which, I read that and said, well, of course, because that was 3 years ago when I wrote the book. I'm now maybe late teal, maybe a little bit early turquoise. I'm trying hard.
We'll have to get Andrew Rook's stamp of approval for that one.
So let me show you how I set this up. And just go back here to Dream Analyzer. Here is the details. So there's a title, and here's the description that I created. This dream analysis project is a structured yet deeply exploratory inquiry into the symbolic, emotional, and psychological patterns expressed through my personal dreams. It treats my dream life not as an incidental byproduct of sleep, but as a living expression of the psyche, one that may reveal the deeper structures shaping my inner world. Okay, and then I give it, some more context there. So that's what, this project. This is how I built the project, right? And then over here, if I look at the instructions, this is where the AI tool becomes extremely powerful, because I tell it, I say, you are an expert at dream analysis. Use this project's description, which I just read to you, for framing the overall intention of what is expected. And then I give it very specific instructions. Begin with reverence for the dream as reality. And then, work across multiple lenses simultaneously. And I give all these different, Jungian, Freudian, humanistic, phenomenological, and integral. And then track patterns, prioritize structure over symbols, locate the dream within a developmental arc, et cetera, et cetera. So very detailed instructions. And if you want to do this yourself with your AI bot, I can share this prompt with you, and you can use it for your own work. So that's basically
Can you do that
tool.
Can you save it and attach it in the chat for us? Can you save it as a file? Or do you think you can paste it in the chat? I couldn't tell how long it was.
Yeah, I could paste it in the chat.
Okay.
Here, let me grab it.
So by the way, how did you create this set of instructions? I think that's the question we're all wondering, right?
I used AI to create the prompt. So what I've been doing, it's a bit over the top, but I currently have 3 pro subscriptions to different AI bots. I have ChatGPT, I have Gemini, which is the Google AI, and I have Claude, which is Anthropic's AI. And I think what I did for this, I used ChatGPT to create a prompt, and I told it to create a prompt for Claude, and then I used that prompt. So, anyway, so we're working back and forth, right? So let me.
So William,
Yes.
I've done similar things. The way you're pronouncing, I've always pronounced it Claude. Have you heard something different?
Yeah, I do believe that the correct pronunciation is Claude, because the reason Anthropic created the name
Yeah.
Claude is because it rhymes with code,
Aha.
and
Okay.
that's what they specialize in.
Yeah.
Writing software code.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Somebody must speak French at Anthropic.
that was throwing me off. Um, yeah. And one of the things that you can do when you're putting together these instructions and for a particular project that you're creating is you go in, you see how the instructions work with an input, and based on kind of the way the input comes out, you can go back and edit your instructions
Yeah.
to refine that to get to a point where you're really happy with the kind of results that you're getting. So
Yes,
that's
exactly. Yeah.
a real iterative process.
Mhm.
I was going to ask how many iterations it took to get to this
Oh,
complexity of prompt.
Um,
Many?
no,
Really?
yeah, I mean, I think because I'm using the pro versions of these,
Mhm.
it gives me, I ask them to use, more in-depth analysis because I have that choice. And the stuff that they create often is, something that I only have to edit a little bit. It's like very good. It's like really powerful. Anyway, I can't post this in there because it's way too much text.
If
But
you save it in a file, then you could attach it.
so I just gave
Oh,
you part of the beginning of it.
okay,
So
cool.
it's only about 20% of it or so.
Okay.
But what I
All right.
can do is send it to you, Bet, and you can redistribute it if you like.
Sure. No, yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
Mhm.
okay. This is very cool. And do you want to go ahead and do the second part where you analyze Karen's work, or do you have more
Yes.
things to
Okay.
talk?
So then I created. So I was so happy with this, and doing an analysis according to psychoanalytical models. I decided to create another project that uses a whole bunch of different kinds of models. So that is what I call my Psyche Analysis Engine, and it says what I'm building is not merely a project, but a method of inquiry into psyche as expression. And here I'll show you the one that treats language as a living surface through which deeper structures reveal themselves.
Wow.
So what I've done here is, well, I'll just show you. Here's the frameworks. This is a multi-framework analysis, and I actually designed the prompt to choose which framework it wants to add or to do the analysis with. So there's psychoanalytic here, Freudian, Jungian, object relations, Lacanian. There's trait and personality models. It's like the big five, Hexaco, MBTI. There's cognitive, CBT, schema therapy, humanistic, existential, developmental, Wilber, and of course, Keegan, Piaget, Erickson, Kohlberg, the rest of them. Narrative identity, attachment and relational systems, archetypal and mythology, family systems theory, and archetypal. So these are all the different models that I have, and then I'm telling it to what I expect from it. More importantly, are in these instructions here, and these instructions say exactly what to do. So, treat all input text as a meaningful expression of an underlying psyche, no matter what the text is, right? So do not interpret the text as merely informational. Assume it encodes psychological structures, emotional patterns, symbolic content, developmental movement, implicit values, identity, et cetera, et cetera. So in other words, that whatever the text is, it is a deep representation of the human psyche. And then um, the anyway, that I tell to say do all these different things. So I'll give you an example of this in action. So here's this was this is a blog post I wrote, and the blog post is titled "Purpose is More Than a Passion Project," right? And it gives the philosophical grounding, the tone, corrective, gently authoritarian, reassuring. The writer positions themselves as a clarifying voice against perceived cultural errors. The mood, the imagery, dominant metaphors are directional and spatial. The
Wow.
structure, the narrative movement, and then it chose three. So it did this on its own. It chose to do a narrative identity theory framework, a Jungian archetypal framework, and a cognitive schema-based analysis. And then it did each of these three frameworks that it chose out of like a dozen different ones that it could have chosen, and it did this on its own. And
Wow.
I could force it to choose a specific framework, but AI is so clever and it gives such rich feedback. I haven't needed to do that anymore. So and then here's
I feel,
the second. So question, yeah.
yeah, I just want to comment on the Jungian. I feel really pumped because I am such a Jungian. I feel really pumped that out of the many options it chose Jungian. I feel so validated by AI.
Yeah. And then here's the framework, the third framework it used. And then it gives a cross framework comparison of the three, the narrative identity, the Jungian, and the cognitive schema, the core insights, the dynamics, what it illuminates. And I mean, you can just see that there is so much here for the writer to understand about what they wrote and what the real deeper meaning is. So even though when a reader reads whatever they read, they're not thinking that what they're reading is this deep psychology, even subconscious archetypes and all the rest. But what you're doing as a reader is reaching them at that level through the text. And what this kind of analysis does, it makes clear to the author what we're actually doing with our words, and where we're having a deeper psychological impact on the reader. And then we can judge if that's exactly what we want to do. Is this the, is this the primary dynamic, for example, that I really want? Do I want an epistemic stewardship? Am I trying to do Apollonian structuring of Dionysian energy?
Wow. Wow.
I mean, Karen, I know you'd love this stuff.
Oh, yeah, that sounds powerful.
Yeah. And then what it illuminates: social relational function of the text, mythological depth, practical cognitive architecture. And it's all, on this, one relatively small blog post, that talks about purpose not just being a passion project. It's a lot more. And then here's a, developmental assessment. They're using Keegan. There's some core tensions that are within the text. Some of these are more important or less important. It's up for me to decide whether there's any particular insight there. What the developmental edge is, what is trying to emerge, a more fully articulated framework that can withstand scrutiny, the 6 dimensions, when revealed, will either vindicate or challenge the confidence of the corrective voice. And then I have reflective questions if I want to think about the text more specifically. These are things that I could do. So, for example, it says you invoke Virginia Woolf. I am not one and simple, but complex and many. That's a quote that I used in the blog. What is your own relationship to your multiplicity? Does the six dimensions framework contain your complexity, or does it sometimes feel like it constrains it? So, it allows me to have a better understanding of what I'm talking about, my storytelling. Yes.
So one of the things that I think it's a feature that's come up in Claude recently of taking that number 3 and highlighting it, and then that reply button there, you can click on that and talk to that specific piece of what you highlighted and ask questions about that, or comment, or ask it to comment some more on that, any number of things.
Yeah, so I just did that, and can
it's
you
a
see it?
really, yeah, it's a really nice feature that they've built in rather recently, so that you don't have to cut and paste and finagle it that way.
So I just wrote, I clicked on that and I said, tell me more. So
Yeah.
I'm asking, so I'm using the Sonnet 4.6 extended large language model. And so this is what it says about that quote. This question is, I think, the sharpest one in the set because it cuts directly to a tension the blog post enacts without acknowledging. What makes the wolf invocation psychologically significant? The writer quotes wolf not as decoration, but as permission. The implicit logic is this: I am about to tell you that purpose has six dimensions. Da 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 da. Anyway, it's thinking on my behalf. So I mean, this is totally brilliant, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can drill down wherever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Gary. So anyway, back to so that's the text, and I mean this is just enormously fun, meaningful stuff. So this is my larger Psyche Analysis Engine, and now for the fun of it, Karen, should we put your
Sure.
blood moon into
Sure,
this?
but I'd like to make a comment. When you shared an earlier iteration of this with me, and I was just wowed. What I recall, maybe I hope accurately, was that you had what I recall was a fairly shorter than this text about analyzing six dimensions of purpose from a Jungian point of view, with those various other prompts that you had given. And I read through what it had to say about the six dimensions of purpose as if it were a dream, in a Jungian analysis of that dream. And it went through those six. They are the six stages of Wilber's first tier spiral dynamics, which I know. I mean, I've been deeply involved in them, and what Claude had to say about each of the stages in your six dimensions of purpose had some really profound insights about the deep structure and processes of those stages. Speaking from somebody who's very familiar with that part of stage theory, it wasn't just a lot of facile stuff. This was a really profound analysis. So that has if and but I note how very precise and detailed your prompts are, and this validates a feeling I've had about AI, having not used it yet, is that if we can shape the prompts, and maybe over iterations it can go very deeply and accurately, but we have to be the one who shaped the prompts. That was my impression after looking at an earlier version of this.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so here's your blood moon text. This is the raw text that I grabbed off your website, Karen.
Hmm.
And I stripped out all the images, so I just
Hmm.
grabbed the text. So I'll just copy this and then go over here to Claude, and I'll say analyze the following text. And then I just pasted it in there. And we're using the extended version. So this is a little more deep thinking. There's all these other versions that I could be using, but
Oh, I
I
see.
like the extended thinking because I'm paying for it, so I might as well might as well get it. So I'll click on that,
So
and
let's
now Claude's going to work fast. So here's analysis of blood moon. Text classification, manuscript, autobiographical hybrid, structured as a first-person dying testament, simultaneously a cosmological vision narrative, a political allegory, and a spiritual confession. The narrator speaks from a liminal position, already dead in one sense, not yet fully dead in another.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, does that fit?
Yes, that's spot on. Hits the bullseye so
So
far.
the tone is elegiac, if that's how you pronounce it, elegiac, prophetic,
Elegiac.
tender, a grief without bitterness, which is itself remarkable and psychologically significant. Beneath the grief runs a current of extraordinary calm that coexists with explicit descriptions of agony.
Holy shit.
Mood, mood, sacrificial and generous. The narrator is moving towards dissolution rather than away from it. The dominant emotional register is not fear but love, specifically the anguish of a parent watching children make destructive choices. And that's exactly
Yes.
what you're trying to achieve, right, Karen?
Bullseye
So here's the
so
imagery,
far. Mhm.
layered in three distinct registries: earthly, visceral, with the broken ribs, pierced young; cosmologically visionary, the seven globes, the garden of light; and natural mythic, the trout leaping from the waterfall, the moon shadow. The structure is spiral rather than linear. The narrator moves outward from personal death to cosmic vision, and then inward again, back into the broken body, back to her people. The
Yeah.
narrative movement from personal betrayal, communal terror, cosmic perspective, return to the personal. The arc enacts exactly what it describes: the self dies, expands into larger understanding, and returns transformed. That's the hero's journey. Huh?
Yep.
So these are the three frameworks it chose. Jungian was the
Ah,
first one, which is your favorite.
oh yeah, my man.
The text is saturated with archetypal content: the wounded healer, the scapegoat, the sacrifice, the great mother, the wise woman crone.
The
And then,
visionary sequence maps directly onto Jungian individuation. Holy Toledo.
yeah, and then the developmental perspective with Wilber.
And you didn't prompt any of this part. It chose it. Wow.
Yeah, it chose to do this.
Wow.
And then it also did a narrative identity using Ricoeur and Cohoot, whoever he is. I don't know him. Ricoeur is he's a postmodern French philosopher. The narrator is constructing a final definitive self-narrative in the face of death. How she tells this story is who she is. The act of narration itself becomes a psychological and spiritual act.
Wow.
That's you, Karen.
Yep. That nails it.
Mhm. And then, so here's the first framework, Jungian, the
Uh-huh.
framework assumptions, the core interpretation, wounded healer,
hmm
sacrificial feminine.
hmm hmm
The blood moon functions as a Jungian.
Enantiodromia.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's where you push something so far that it turns into its opposite. It's like in the yin yang, each at its most where the yin at its fullest has a little core of yang in it, and the yang at its fullest has a core of yin in it. That each part of a polarity contains the seed of its opposite.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
so
and then here's evidence, psychological dynamics. the animus possession, collective.
Yeah. Whoa.
So Batumiver, that's one of
Yep.
people in her
He's the
clan,
bad. Yep.
represents the unintegrated masculine, will to power, divorced from eros, seizing control when the feminine relational principle is weakened.
Yep.
And that's exactly what you wanted,
Oh, yeah.
huh? So the strengths of this reveals the mythic depth and universality of the narrative, explains the emotional logic of the sacrifice. It is not machismo, but initiation.
Not masochism, but
Oh,
initiation.
oh,
Nailed
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Masochism, but
Nailed it.
initiation. Yeah. The limits. Risk of romanticizing the narrator's suffering.
Okay.
May insufficiently honor the political and social dimensions. Real communities do collapse under authoritarian seizure of power. The Jungian frame can spiritualize what is also historical and material.
Oh my God. I love what I especially love is the risk of romanticizing the narrator's suffering. And a dream, kind of a funny dream that it's too long to go into here. But
Yeah.
yes, yes, nailed it
Yeah.
again. Bullseye.
Yeah. And so, I mean, what you can do is then go back into the text and you can make sure that you're not romanticizing, you know. And maybe just one or two sentences here and there will show
Hmm.
that it's not being romanticized. Then here's the second framework, the integral framework, the assumptions, core interpretation. Oh, here you have your
Look at that.
stages of development.
Awesome.
And that's exactly what you're attempting to do in your book,
That
right?
was exactly what I was well, the book actually this is the core vision of my novel in progress, but it's going to be much more compact. It's not going to go into stages and things, but this Blood Moon started as just an exercise to kind of flesh out Mbe's vision through the stages. And so I could then compactify it into something that would be easily digestible by a mass audience without going into stage theory. So this whole thing started as an exercise that I never intended to take out into public, but then when I wrapped it in the narrative story, it took on a life of its own. But with that minimal prompt for it to get this and locate it, this is really extraordinary. I'm impressed. I'm a
Well, so,
convert.
yeah, so the minimal prompt is analyze
The following text.
this following text. But the reason it's so powerful is because of my instructions here. Because these instructions tell AI exactly how to treat the text and what I
So
want to
so
do.
your minimal prompt was within the context of this set project instructions. So it did
Exactly.
have, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
got it.
So, I say step 3, framework-based analysis. For each
Got
framework,
it.
provide a framework
Yeah.
assumptions, core interpretation,
Uh-huh.
evidence, right?
Okay.
Psychological dynamics.
Hmm.
So if we go back to this, and we're looking at uh, Wilber here,
Yeah.
this is exactly what it did.
Yeah.
I asked it to give the framework assumptions, why it used this particular framework, in this case, Wilber, what the core interpretation is, what the evidence is that the AI is using in order to justify using a
Hmm.
Wilberian analysis. And these are direct quotes from,
Hmm.
you know, from the book that, the AI extracted and realized that, oh yeah, this is developmental. Yes, Gary.
Yeah. I'm curious, Karen, this has been very quick review of this, but I'm kind of curious how this lands from the standpoint of feedback about your writing and how you might approach this piece, if you were editing it, given all of this feedback.
Well, I doubt I would do much, if any, editing, maybe none on Blood Moon, because I have polished and polished and polished it. And this is kind of what this text is doing. I want to read the whole thing in detail, but what this text is doing for me now is saying that yes, I am articulating what I had intended to. I am hoping to use AI for my novel, parts of which are a mess, to help give me this clarity about structuring chapters 2, 3, and 4, and then lock them into chapters 1 and chapters 5 and 6. So this is giving me a lot of confidence that yes, AI is going to be very helpful when I articulate the larger vision, which is the larger story, which is the novel. I doubt I might change my mind after I've read through this carefully in detail. I think Blood Moon is pretty much set.
I
But
was
I might see something here that makes me want to go back and twiddle.
I was thinking more from the standpoint of assuming if this had been a case of something that was not polished,
Mhm.
that
Oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Uh-huh. The one thing you said, you mentioned something is a mess. I have found it really helpful when I have something that's a mess to really untangle the Gordian knots of some of my writing. It really is remarkable at its ability to do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
good to hear.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just,
I've been following
yeah,
your Substack articles,
yeah.
and yeah, so you're embarked in a very similar project, a different mode, but
Mhm.
helping bring the whole Wilberian vision into translating them into forms that can move out into the popular culture, out of our beautiful intellectual ghetto, that are assimilable by mass market products. I know that's one of your passion too, and you're doing it through your Substack articles.
Yeah.
So
It
then
takes.
it
Go ahead.
takes the three frameworks, and then it gives a comparison between the three where they
Mhm.
diverge, their unique contributions. The Jungian illuminates the feminine as cosmological principle. Integral provides the most precise map of the seven globe sequence.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And then, you know, integrated synthesis, what kind of psyche is expressed? A psyche of integrated second tier consciousness, rare in
woohoo!
era, fictional or otherwise.
All right.
So your goddess is way up there on her her state of consciousness, huh?
Well, I'd like to pretend I'm beyond ego, but I'm not. That was very gratifying.
Here's central tensions between her own desire to die, escape from suffering, and her love that calls her back, between cosmic inevitability and moral urgency,
Yeah,
between forgiveness and political realism.
yeah.
Then there's a
Wow. Yeah.
developmental assessment. Her community is at stage 2 to 3 transition. Capable of institutional loyalty, they build a farming town, but collapsing under existential threat into magical thinking and scapegoating.
Wow. Bullseye. Yeah. Under the great stress they're under, are they going to regress back? Are they going to regress into an earlier stage at the cost of breakdown and horrific suffering?
And that's totally what your whole novel is going to be about, right? The
Yep.
whole,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
society going in and out of dark ages and going higher and higher to higher levels of consciousness.
Well,
So
that's
core
the larger
tension,
context, but yeah.
yeah. Core tensions, individual meaning versus evolutionary indifference, forgiveness versus accountability,
Wow.
developmental edge, what is trying to emerge. The community is attempting to make the transition from magical animistic to mythic membership consciousness, from identifying with
Yeah.
small tribes under the Earth Mother to identifying with the larger civic and agricultural collective under new gods.
Bullseye.
Well, it must be integrated. It must integrate the grief of the old way without
Wow.
allowing that grief to become regression.
Wow.
Ooh, what is avoided? The community is avoiding responsibility for their own darkness.
Could this possibly apply to the integral community?
Certainly not this group here,
Nah.
not this Zoom meeting. And then here's some reflective questions that you, as the author, might want to, talk about. And
Wow.
here's the most constructive insight. The text's most profound psychological revelation is this: the highest developmental achievement is not the transcendence of the personal, but the return to it. The willingness to re-enter limitations, suffering, and uncertainty from a position of expanded understanding, not because one must, but because love makes it possible to choose.
Okay, Claude just blew me away.
Yeah, so this is
Yeah.
why I decided to use Claude as my go-to instead of ChatGPT or Gemini. I think it's just better.
If it can do this, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it can
Here's
do it if we have his secret files, guys.
Yeah. You've got a new profession, William, helping us develop these complex prompts for our explorations with Claude.
yeah. No, it's the I used to wrestle with prompts and
Uh-huh.
kind of what I'm really trying to get. And what I realize is that you can just ask your AI to give you the prompt that you're looking for. And then just keep on modifying, just keep on asking it to
Right,
modify the prompt, saying, well, make it more this way or make that
right.
way, lose this, add this. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden the prompt just grows and grows and grows and gets you what you want.
Hmm. Yeah, I kind of figured that would be the trajectory, but you're out ahead, you're way out ahead of me on this.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just keep
Yeah.
fine tuning your prompts,
Yeah.
learn by doing.
And then,
Oh.
and just as an aside, this is my main workspace. I call it my AI clone.
Mhm.
And if you look at the details here, you are my AI clone Copilot. Use my personal DNA in your interactions with me. Default to my goals, voice, and constraints when advising me. And then I uploaded um, my DNA to it. Um, here's my DNA that I gave it.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
I told it, my identity: William, male, current occupation, retired educator and current writer. Future directions, my goals, my biggest wins and hardest lessons, my constraints and fears, my target audience, my success metrics, and then it uses that context, for interacting with me. And this is where I'm going to start using as my main area of writing, because I want
Mhm.
my writing to also reflect me, my personality, who I am, my identity. I want that to come through in my writing. So I'm going to do my writing within the context of my AI clone.
William,
Yes.
well, I'm curious about do you put anything in uh, the settings part
Oh,
of
yes. Mhm.
because I was under the impression, yeah, right there, and in that where you have where it says when appropriate tuning response. That's where I put a lot of that kind of information there. I'm curious why you didn't use that because that's kind of an overarching thing for all of your projects.
Yeah. So what I did so every time it answers me, even if I ask it, what the weather is today in Vancouver, I say, when appropriate to any response from you, give me an additional deeper philosophical or psychological perspective on the topic at hand.
Yeah.
And I just find this fascinating. I'll give you an example. I'll just go to here I'll just do a new chat. And I'll say, should I cook lasagna or pasta al pesto for a romantic dinner? I'm trying to be as frivolous as possible here. So for a romantic dinner, pasta al pesto is the stronger choice, and here's why. And so it tells me, why. Presence over production, freshness signals care, it's a sensory and live. But here's the deeper angle. So this is that prompt that I said, always add a deeper philosophical or psychological perspective, and says the deeper angle. There's something philosophically telling in the choice itself. Lasagna is architecture, planned, layered, controlled, revealed only after it's complete. Pesto is more like presence, immediate, aromatic, unmediated. Romantic connection needs to flourish, not in the perfectly constructed moment, but in the ease of being rather than performing. Choosing the dish that lets you show up unguarded may be the most romantic move of all.
Oh,
I mean, this is so cool. And, I love philosophy and I love getting like these deeper insights into everything. So, no matter what I ask it, here's, I was asking about non-dual feelings. This is just a prompt. And then here's a deeper angle. This is a prompt from earlier today. And this is all added stuff, that is just a further deeper analysis. So it does that all the time, right?
So that thing that's in your preferences or your general settings is the thing that drives that.
Yeah. So here's something I asked a couple of days ago. I said, where are NVIDIA chips manufactured? And then they basically say Taiwan and South Korea, but then they gave me a deeper lens worth considering. This geographic shift in manufacturing is a vivid example of what Ken Wilber might call a collision between techno-economic and cultural political quadrants. The interior value of nations, sovereignty, security, identity, reshaping the exterior systems of global commerce.
yeah.
And I mean, it's just the whole AI world is just an amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking at the second half of that paragraph. For decades, hyperglobalization operated on the assumption that interdependence was security. Now we're watching a reversal. Oh my God. Yes. I mean, a rupture, as your prime minister said. Yeah,
and
they nailed it.
And it's giving me this with a simple question: where are
Yeah.
NVIDIA chips manufactured?
But you
Right?
had added, always give me the additional philosophical context. So it did.
Yeah, and that is just going back here. It's
Yeah.
simply that one line. When appropriate to any response from you, give me an additional, deeper philosophical or psychological perspective on the topic at hand.
Yeah, that was more geopolitical, but it was certainly relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going in the integral line because of some of the other information you've given it, obviously, that you're interested in integral when it's giving you something philosophical or
So in my AI clone, I told it that to use integral theory when appropriate whenever it's dealing with me.
yeah. Mm.
So I'm still confused about why that information is in the AI clone rather than in the overall general settings.
Which one?
What you just highlighted in the AI clone.
Oh, no, no, no. That was in settings that I highlighted that. This is in settings here. When appropriate.
No. Oh, no, you were in your AI clone just a moment ago.
Oh, I see. Oh, right.
I keep trying to point at it.
Yeah. The
So I just want to do a quick time check. I don't know if you guys want to stay on past the end of the hour, but unfortunately I have to run. But I just want to say thank you so much, William. Is there anything else you want to show in the last 1 minute?
no, I think this is the essence of it. And I look forward to sharing my prompts with you. And I hope they can help you in your writing.
Okay. So is there anybody who wants to stay on after the end of the hour? Because I need to give co-host to somebody who will then be owner of this meeting. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and hit the end record. So thank you all. Hope everyone has a great month and see everyone next month. Bye.
Thank you, Bet.